My name is Roger Rothkamp. I work at the NASA Johnson Space Center. I'm a robotics engineer, currently working in an emerging field called wearable robotics. People are becoming more comfortable with the man and machine becoming closer together. In the past, there may have been hesitation or the technology wasn't there, it wasn't compact enough. But now we've kind of reached a tipping point of sorts where all this technology is coming together at the right time, and we're seeing a lot of applications for it, especially in spaceflight. The lower extremity exoskeleton is a wearable robotics. It's got 4 active degrees of freedom and 6 passive degrees of freedom. The applications are in assisted mobility, human augmentation, exercise, and applications that we haven't thought of yet. There are a lot of terrestrial applications. One very important application is assisted mobility, so we can assist people with paraplegia or just weakness and things like that. A key component of this project was the opportunity to work with some people that had paraplegia. The moment we got to work with them and kind of see the, just the energy they had to put into what we were developing, it's just exciting. I mean, there's so many applications, and you get the opportunity to work with such great people, and you get to help people. Can't beat that. We're very proud of the glove. The technology for the glove was developed in collaboration with General Motors. And with General Motors and NASA working together, developed 44 patents. And some of those patents and that technology was put into the glove to assist assembly line workers in manufacturing plants. It's dynamic. Human spaceflight is just a great cause. And now we're being able to apply that to terrestrial applications. And that just makes it that much more exciting for me. I love it. Anything you can do to make life better on Earth.
Hello, everybody. This is Scott Roberts with Explore Scientific, and here I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a moment and bring our guys on here. We got Kent Marts and Tyler Bowman. Jerry Hubble is not with us for the rest of this week as he's on vacation. So, but that's okay. We got plenty to cover in our program. First off, both you guys were at the Global Star Party last night. What did you guys think of it?
It's always great, in my opinion. I love it. I wish I could stay up longer, but I'm just too tired.
Yeah, you said I was hard, like I was a slave driver or something.
I mean, it's just, I'm constantly working. Maybe it's my own fruition. Maybe it's just I don't stop working and I just blame it on others.
Yeah, we'll give you a break.
I've really enjoyed the art and, hey, Tyler, mute your microphone. I've really enjoyed art and the music aspects of it. It brings a different level of interest and festival sort of atmosphere to the gathering. It's not just all, technical how-to. There's this amazing different level of creativity. And I had to tell Tyler to mute his microphone because he's sitting about 9 feet away from me, and his microphone picks up me and I pick up him. So we have to be careful and not talk all over each other.
Right. That's all right. That's okay. So yeah, I mean, we had Norman Fulham on playing Rocket Man, and he was. I mean, it was just beautiful. But I found what was really really interesting was his life story. I've known Norman for 15 years, maybe 20 years, something like that. And, I did not know that he had faced addiction in his life. That I did not know that he, the dude just starts off from scratch. And if you visit his shop, and we did do a tour through his shop a couple of star parties ago. I mean, he's got a vacuum coating chamber that he built himself, okay, that can coat 65-inch mirrors, okay. The guy's like a mad scientist. And then he has a woodworking shop where he makes beautiful, stunning, hand-carved, wooden bodied Dobsonian telescopes. They're just, they all at once look very steampunk and very, craftsman, craft. I don't even know how to describe it. You just have to experience it. But I mean, every part of what he does just is oozing, dripping with astronomy and astronomical inspiration. So, and that's just so cool. But he said in his own words that astronomy saved his life. And, I think that for a lot of people, that astronomy is something that really does help them. It gives them a fresh perspective. It makes their problems all shrink down. Once you realize that, that we're just on that little tiny blue dot, flying through space, and all of these things that we think are so critical and so that get us all wound up in a knot, really, on the big scale, don't matter like that. Okay. And you shouldn't really have to suffer for these kinds of things. So it's, Jeff White said that Norman blew his mind. So yeah, I would agree with that. Let's look at who else we have with us today. We got James the astrophotographer, Jeff Wise, Michael Whitaker, Dave Eaton, Bergman Scooter, David Samart. He says, thank you, Explore Scientific, Mount Exo and Bresser 127, now ready to explore the sky. It took a full week, but now she's ready. Thank you for this beautiful machine. Well, you're the person that put it all together, David, so I think that you deserve some credit here. Richard Gray says, hello, everybody. And let's see, who else? Richard Gray says, life is good. Life is good. Brought the scope in at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God. When did you get some sleep, Richard?
He should have got his little 80-80 in today, I think.
I went to about 1:30 this morning. So
Yeah, that's about the same for me.
let's see. Who else is watching? Wolfgang's watching from Germany, of course. Mike Wiesner. Mike gave a great a talk about smartphone astrophotography. It was really cool. And he had conquered the technical problem of broadcasting out from his observatory, so he was doing that with like a tablet and a phone, I think, so, which was pretty cool. Let's see. And God, we saw some great astrophotography. Jason Genzel's Mars image was a mind blower. Really, really cool. Let's see. Tim Myers is with us. Just noticed that Kent looks a lot like the general on the General Insurance commercials. It's the mustache. You need to grow the mustache a little longer. You're muted.
It's getting there. I keep waiting for my wife to tell me to cut it off and go back to the way it used to be. But I just replied in the messages to Tim that I just need a green helmet.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
So, and remember,
Hines is watching. Says hello, Jeff. Let's see. Look, Davies is watching. He says the usual subjects or suspects. Excuse me. And this person looks new. Nihar Patniak,
I think. Yep. From India.
Hello, all. Greetings from India. Thanks for watching all the way from India, Nihar. That's great.
There's a lot of astrophotographers in India. I'm a member of the Indian Astrophotography Facebook group.
Oh,
and
wow.
There is a large active group of astrophotographers in India.
Yeah. Well, I know that we have lots of people interested in just space in general from India. A lot of the people that follow my personal Facebook pages are young people that want to become astronauts. And I think that this next generation, we're going to see this whole new wave. There's going to be more astronauts than there's ever been, ever. If you're truly interested and want to work hard for it, I think that you got a good shot at flying in space in your lifetime. So, I think it's not going to be so unusual. So anyways, I thought that probably what we would do is we would talk a little bit about the Mars opposition. Our next star party, we got 2 more star parties coming up really soon. Okay, we've got, of course, the star party that's going to happen on Tuesday, on the 13th, and that is the Mars opposition day. We will also have a star party for the European edition, as I would call it. It's for people that are, all these star parties are global. So Gary Palmer and I were talking about that today. Like, how do we call it anything but global? Because we get people in the northern, southern hemisphere, other countries, other continents. We thought that, we should probably center it around a certain time zone or something like that. People do solar astronomy and nighttime astronomy. And so, the astronomy doesn't have to stop. It can go on, as long as you got clear skies, and power, and internet, you can join in with the Global Star Party. So something for you guys to consider out there that are watching. But we will participate in on the Saturday event. Normally we would do this on a Friday. Gary wanted to try a Saturday. And so we have, we'll start at 4 p.m. Central Time. So that's, I think that's roughly midnight Universal Time, something like that. So is that right?
I was just looking up Nihar.
1 o'clock.
Nihar is in India. It is currently 2:43 a.m.
Okay, so no, that's 9 o'clock.
It should be 8 or 9 our time.
That's right.
So they're 4 hours. They're 4 hours ahead.
That's right.
So
So there you go.
So
Five-
say that again, Scott.
I think it's 5 hours ahead, right? 2100 UTC.
Right,
4 or 5 hours ahead.
We're 5. Central Time is 5.
100.
6. It's 6 hours in the wintertime. So it's currently
But we're not, we haven't changed our from daylight savings time yet. So
Right. So
Right.
Nihar, it's 2:43 a.m. in India right now for him. So
Dedication.
yeah, it'd be great if he could. He has an Exos 100. He said in his notes, I helped him set it up. It'd be cool, Nihar, for you to participate from India in one of our star parties. To start, spreading the word to that group of they're very dedicated astrophotographers. We'd love to have you if we could get it fixed up.
yes, says please get a UTC clock, Scott. I have one. It's called my computer, but you know how many web pages I have up right now.
Not as much as Jerry.
That's true. That's very true. No one does. So that's right. So anyhow, Ken, you are handling dealers across the country. What's been the, how are our dealers serving, all of these amateur astronomers? We're outfitters for them. And how are they being outfitted right now for preparing for Mars?
We've seen a lot of requests, and we sold out of our Alt-Az mount, the Mazza one, the Twilight one mount, which came back into stock, and we shipped a bunch of back orders just in time. And I think a lot of it's being driven by the opposition of Mars and the opposition, the oppositions of summer, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. And with Mars coming up, we're seeing with the planets, we saw a surge in people ordering MAC-CAS telescopes to get the focal length and focal extenders to gain visual. And I think there's a lot of astrophotography going on that way. People using MAC-CASs with a 3x or 5x focal extender to get up at, to 8,000 millimeters of focal length. What, Scott?
It's a lot of focal length.
The MAC-CAS 127 and 152 are both 1900. So if you put a 5,000 or a 5x on it, you're pushing 9,000 millimeters. So it's they're going to get a big image, which is the only way with a planetary camera to do it. And Tyler, we've been bugging Tyler to start doing.
I'm gonna do it. I just purchased a 224. Pressured me, so it'll be in the next week.
That's right. Your next employee review will be how good your planetary images are, Tyler.
I'm gonna take either a 140 or the 152 and get a 3x Barlow or focal extender. So next star party, I'm set.
So the beautiful thing about shooting planets is, it's not like a meteor shower that happens maybe one or two. The peak is 1 or 2 days. Just because it's his opposition at a very specific time doesn't mean that the weeks leading up to it and the weeks on the other side of it aren't fine for it as well.
Sure.
But Mars is notoriously hard to shoot because it's so small in the sky. I wish I had access to my server where I have some pictures I took back in 2004 when the closest apparition forever came by. I'd used a digital camera with afocal photography and got some really good images that way, and attempted stacking. And because I was holding it, was moving, it shifted enough to where you couldn't really do it that well. And never even thought about something as mind-boggling as shooting 3 minutes of video and then taking the best images and stacking them together. That was that was stuff reserved for NASA in 2014, in my mind. And now I know I could have done it, but now in those intervening 14 years, it's become, or 16 years, it's become just, commonplace, and astounding pictures get created that way. It's awesome to see.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The in years past, when I was selling telescopes and stuff, I would always see like this big rush of people coming in who, they'd buy the high power eyepieces. They would buy filters, eyepiece filters for that would maximize the contrast of light through those eyepieces and stuff. That's some of the stuff I'm going to talk about a little bit later as we go into this program, and some of the tips that I've learned for high power observing, and some of the tips for astrophotography as well. A lot of this now has to do with really, high-end, careful image processing of those images, but it is really amazing what you can get when you're doing astrophotography of the planets. We're seeing stunning work from people like Christopher Go, Jason Genzel, Damian Peach, stuff that just maybe 10 years ago, if you saw images of this quality, you would have to believe that they were done by a spacecraft. I mean, they are incredible, okay? Incredible detail. And so, this particular opposition is very exciting to people who observe Mars and love to get images of Mars, because we're not going to see this close of an opposition again until I think it's the year 2035. So, if you are someone that's interested, I mean, how could you not be interested? But, you definitely need to get out and observe it through this opposition. And if you can, get any kind of camera system, including your smartphone, to try to get images of this opposition, because it's something you're going to want to remember.
Hey, Scott, we had an interesting little talking about time. Jim Norwood says it's odd that Indy is half 0.5 hours different between everybody else. And he says, rubbing chin thoughtfully. And the answer is, because I looked this up years ago, India is split by 2 time zones. And instead of making a decision to have 2 different time zones, they simply decided to average the difference and go with India Standard Time, which averages into the middle, and it becomes
For the whole
0.5. Correct. For the whole country. Is India Standard is one unified average time zone. So which we, much like England, could do the same thing. England has 2 time zones.
It has 1 time zone for the whole country, but it's huge, right? And so the United States, on the other hand, has 4 time zones? Is that right?
And Russia has 12, 11.
Oh.
I think it's 11 or 12 time zones in Russia.
Ouch.
Yeah, right. So that's pretty crazy. Be tough to keep up with all the different time zones as you're traveling across that country. I get messed up sometimes when I would just do travel from from here to New York or something, and you would your brain is kind of on your local time zone, right? So anyhow, Tyler, before I go on to talking about some of the tips and stuff that I have for observing Mars, what's happening out there with the forums and the OpenGOTO community?
The forums have been quiet, which I'm honestly surprised with the opposition coming around. So I'm hoping next week they'll actually start blowing up with some more pictures, or at least this weekend, depending on everybody's seeing conditions. But mainly the groups IO have been, again, it's been quiet. Same with Facebook, YouTube, Reddit. It has been pretty quiet with everything that's going on.
They must be observing, right?
Yeah. But no, I'm trying to put together a training thing for the guys here, the CSR group, for ASI air problems. So I don't have to be the sole proprietor. I'm the guy that has to fix the problem.
ASI air, that's right. So today, Tyler was in my office talking about putting together an astrophotography contest for people who use Explore Scientific equipment. What were your thoughts on that?
Just thoughts on the contest in general, sir?
In general, yeah. On it, what is it that are you thinking that it would be on a certain kind of object? Would there be multiple categories? What are you thinking of?
As long as they're just using Explore Scientific telescopes. No, I'm not going to limit. I mean, if you're using the mounts, great. I'm not going to penalize you for anything as far as mounts, but I just want to see, as far as telescopes wise, we got to knock down the finer details of the possible prize, if there is one. But I figured with the consensus, the Prime or the Alliance memberships would vote on some of these, the prize or the images, or we can actually leave it to the popular vote of the people or our customers to see which is the best of the best images that they think using our telescopes. And I figured that would bring out some good morale with everything going on in the world. And it lets you see what our actual telescopes are capable of doing as far as imaging.
I see. Well, to kind of draft up some ideas. Once we kind of formalize that a little bit, we'll roll it out. You'll probably hear about it first on one of these live programs, and then you'll see it on our website. But this will be, these kinds of things will be Explore Alliance membership driven types of things. So, we've seen some really amazing astrophotographs already, with Wade Prunty's 100-hour exposure.
You can't participate. You can't do it.
Sure you can. Why not? So
he's got a limited less than 50 or 100 hours.
All exposures have to be less than 100 hours. right?
Hey, Scott, I've shared my screen with you. Here's a great astronomical image that Sheldon shot with one of our telescopes.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler, would this be eligible to be entered in the photography contest?
Any type of photography, as long as it involves our telescopes.
Share that screen, Scott. And let's.
You are sharing it.
Oh, okay.
You are sharing it.
So
Awesome.
Tyler, that's a great.
What was that shot with?
A 127.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Shot with an 80.
Is it an 80?
Yeah. That looks like a little ED80. But that's impressive.
Yeah. Sheldon does good work.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah, I promised that we would have a program just with Sheldon's bird, photographs of birds. So I'll have to get that put together. But
Or maybe we could do both. Because, I mean, I don't know if Sheldon does astrophotography.
He does.
Okay.
Good at it too. It's very good. Yep. For a long time, he was kind of our main astrophotography guru here at Explore Scientific. He's largely retired now, but he still helps us out, so that's really cool. Okay, so I promised we'd talk a little bit about tips and techniques for doing high power observing. So one of the things that I cover, I have a video on how to choose and use eyepieces. And this is all eyepieces. It's not just Explore Scientific eyepieces. But the high power observing does require that you have very good collimation of your telescope. So that's something that you're going to want to check. So no matter what type of scope you have, you're going to want to check your telescope maybe with a laser collimator or Cheshire eyepiece, but your final check should always be on stars at really high power, okay? Because you want to see nice concentric rings going all the way down to the airy disk. This is what's going to tell you that your scope is ready to get the best and most precise images possible of a planetary detail, because any kind of misalignment is going to smear details on the planet's surface. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is to choose a spot that will not have a lot of local air currents. You're not going to really want to be, if you can help it, not be set up on pavement near large stone, large building, a hot car, for example, because most of the turbulence that makes stars twinkle and everything happens within maybe about 100 feet of you, okay? Including your telescope. It should be cooled down to the ambient temperature. If you are out observing, you don't have a choice, you're set up in your driveway or whatever, you'll find that as you observe through the night, sometimes 2-3 o'clock in the morning, suddenly everything starts to look really still and pristine if the sky is steady. Of course, you can have bad turbulence from upper atmosphere stuff as well. But so what if you're out observing and you live in a place where seeing is never really that good? Okay, and when I say seeing, I'm talking about the quality of the air being still, okay? Not how much light pollution you have or transparency, that's another factor, okay? But seeing for a planetary astronomer is the big deal, okay? And so let's say that you have, this used to happen to me a lot when I first got started in selling larger telescopes. I would get people that would buy an 8-inch or 10-inch telescope after owning a small refractor, okay? When I say small refractor, I'm talking like maybe a 60 millimeter refractor. And they would probably bring the scope back and they would say, hey, my 60 millimeter refractor shows sharper images of the stars and planets than this 8-inch telescope that you sold me, okay? Now, why is that? All right? The reason why is because a telescope is a resolving machine, okay? The larger the diameter of the optics, the more detail it can see in everything, including turbulence, okay? So if you got turbulence is going to look worse with larger aperture. But the thing that's really cool about a large aperture telescope is you can always stop it down. And so I don't know if you've ever seen people make these things, or if you've been in a big observatory. A lot of older observatories would have like these huge masts that they would just throw over the telescope, okay, that would stop the telescope down to a smaller aperture. This is done to combat poor seeing conditions. So if you're out observing and you look at Saturn and it just looks fuzzy, it's boiling, you throw it out of focus a little bit, you can actually see waves going through the light and everything. This means that you have tube currents, you have local currents that are smearing your image, okay? If you let your scope cool down to the outside temperature and you put a mask over it that would stop it down, let's say if we had an 8-inch telescope, you stop it down to, let's say 4 inches, okay? You're gonna see that the images will start to sharpen up. They will look dimmer too, but what you're trying to hit for any given night of seeing is you wanna balance the aperture of your scope to just get the best results possible. If you go too small, you're going to start to lose too much resolution. You go too big, you're also losing resolution because of bad seeing. So you want to get this happy spot. Thankfully, cardboard is inexpensive, and cutting out little holes in them to make smaller aperture masks is easy to do. And so this is something that you can do. If you are stuck at a large telescope, and I learned this while observing through the 60-inch telescope at Mount Wilson. We had a night of average seeing. Mount Wilson Observatory is placed just above the city of Pasadena, and it often has very, very good seeing, but sometimes not so much. So what I learned to do, and this astronomer showed me how to do it, he said, okay, find the exit pupil, the beam of light that's coming out of the eyepiece. And then what he would have me do is he would have me squeeze down my hand so that there's like a little pinhole of light coming through here, okay? And you're making an aperture that's smaller than the beam of light coming through there. And then you line your eye up to look at the beam of light. You have to get really lined up to do that. And as you squeeze, you'll find that the image gets miraculously sharper, okay? So sometimes you're trying to split a double star that you can't quite split. This is the technique, okay, for doing that, okay? And costs you nothing, okay, except, maybe a hand squeeze there. So these are a couple of things that you can do. The other thing that you can do, of course, is for getting the best views of planets, especially we're going to talk about Mars right now. So some popular filters, color filters for observing Mars visually would, of course, be like an orange filter, yellow filter, and red and a green filter. This set of filters, which you can buy from, I think Lumicon sells them. You'll see a number of companies that sell these. These are screw-in filters that would fit into the bottom of our eyepieces or any eyepiece, because these are standard filter thread sizes, okay? You will find that you can build the contrast so that you can see the dark areas of Mars easier. You can maybe pop out the polar ice cap a little bit easier. So those filters really do help, okay? So use the right aperture mask, increase your magnification so that you're sneaking up on higher magnification so that you don't go too high magnification, but you're still getting the best resolving possible through the scope, and and let the scope cool down to the outside temperature. If necessary, set your alarm clock. Go back out when the sky is calmed down. Hopefully, Mars has not started to set by this time. You do want it up as high as possible. That's another tip. I'm sure there's a couple of others that people can think of, but these are the primary tips that have been big help to me in doing high power observing. I would recommend that you have eyepieces and probably a set of Barlow lenses that can allow you to get gradual increases in magnification having a series of masks that would allow you to sharpen up the image so that you get the best possible view for the scene conditions of the night. This also works on deep sky objects, by the way, where you might take an 8-inch and stop it down to a 6-inch, for example. Okay, make sure that you're collimated, you know, and that, you know, and that should do it. If you are someone that wears glasses, you have astigmatism, you're going to want to use the kind of eyepieces that, so you can keep your eyeglasses on. You know, the astigmatism in your eye will smear the image too. And so you want to counteract that problem. You're going to want to have eyepieces that have very long eye relief, you know, at least 18 millimeters or longer. If you're, and this usually means you have low power eyepieces. So in that situation, you're going to want to have focal extenders or Barlows that can double, triple, or, you know, give you like a 5 times increase in magnification, so that you can keep the long eye relief with the eyepiece, but you are increasing that effective focal length to get those images. In astrophotography, there's a couple of ways to go about getting great planetary images to start off with. One is called eyepiece extension. The other one is called telenegative projection, okay? And these are, what you'll do is you will buy a special camera adapter that would fit in your focuser that will allow you to drop an eyepiece in it. Usually these are 1.25-inch eyepieces, or that you can take the lens barrel off of your Barlow lens or focal extender and drop that into the device. And then these devices, I wish I had one here at my desk, but I don't. These devices slide back and forth. And so it's kind of like pulling a slide projector further and further away from the wall. You know, if you did that like a projector, the image gets bigger and bigger, okay? So you want to pull back to adjust the magnification. You're going to want to have precise control over your focuser. You know, this would involve perhaps, I don't know if you can effectively use a batten-off mask on planets unless it's very, you know, more small. But if you're projecting it and it's large, a batten-off mask is going to be a little tough. Okay, so you're just going to want to judge just how sharp the image is, unless you have something called a knife edge focuser. Okay, and most people don't use this anymore. But this is kind of old school focusing where you would actually use a razor blade to find the exact precise position of focus and measure it out. So this, you know, film photography was a lot harder to do back in the day. I would recommend having an electric focuser so that you can move through focus very slowly. And if you don't have an electric focuser, you can do something where you put a wand onto the focus knob itself. So let's see. Let's say that this is the end of this right here is the focus knob, okay? What you want to do is you want to attach something. We would just use like a rubber cup or something that would fit over the end of it, and then use a chopstick that would come out, or like a bamboo stick, okay? So now you've got a lever arm so that you could move the focus very, very precisely, okay? Much more precisely than you turning it by hand, okay? And so that will allow you to get a more precise focus. Again, these are some of the old school tricks that were kind of like, you know, old school squeezing your hand and looking through the pinhole. Those are the tips that I know. What do you guys have any other anything else more to add about that?
Scott, I've got a Elliot Neal just sent me a video,
Okay.
which I'm going to share, and I'm going to show the video, and then I want to ask. We're going to see if people can guess how Elliot got this. Okay. So let me get screen sharing going here. Okay, there we go. Are we sharing? There. Okay. So here's a video that Elliot shot from here in Northwest Arkansas. Elliot lives here. Here we go.
Oh yeah, so you can see. Yeah,
So
pretty
you
good thing,
you
actually.
can see it's good scene. He probably shot this last night or the night before. I didn't ask him, but we had good scene Sunday night. I was outside all day, and the
Well,
sky.
last night, look at the rotation of the planet.
Yeah.
It's that feature, that long dark feature, was a little bit more towards the middle last night.
So it's we had the Sunday. The sky was that dark blue, perfectly, beautifully clear, and I
Yeah.
knew there was going to be a lot of astrophotography getting done. Okay, so Elliot Neal shot this.
Little
So the question is, I'll leave it up here for a minute.
else you can see in the images, you can see some of the cloud cover.
Yeah, you can see cloud cover right here,
There and on
and,
the other side too.
and a little bit. You're getting some astigmatism here. It looks some chromatic aberration here.
I think
But
that's cover.
the polar ice cap is right there. I'm not a Martian surface detail, but this is clearly noticeable detail. So the question becomes, I'm going to stop sharing now. The question becomes,
Mhm.
what did Elliot use to capture that video?
Probably a DSLR and a bottle.
How about his iPhone?
Okay, so here's what he used. He used a C11 with a 4mm eyepiece, which gives him 700x, projected onto a Samsung telephone. That's Samsung.
Amazing.
Yeah. He set it to Pro Video so he can control the exposure. It's a 15-year-old C11 on a 1970s vintage mount, Celestron fork mount, with an AC power, synchronous motor tracking, no computer, no post-processing, dead simple setup, Elliot says. He uses a Novo grade cell phone mount, rigid and reliable support mechanism. That was shot with a cell phone and a C11 telescope on an RA drive mount.
On a fork mount.
On a fork mount.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just amazing. That's just a cool video, and the scene was spectacular for Elliot. And he's watching right now. I know that's why he sent it to me. He knew so we're talking about Mars, and so he sent it to me. So Scott Del Beasley asked a question a minute ago. What's the difference between a Barlow and a focal extender?
Barlow lenses change magnification when you change the distance between the lens and the focal plane. Okay. So let's say it says it's 2x. Okay. It doesn't stay 2x at all distances. Okay. A focal extender does. They're more of a telecentric type of focus. So our focal extenders, for example, don't change magnification when you change distance. And for some people, they find that to be an advantage. Some people like the idea that if I move further away from the lens, I get more magnification. So
for intents and purposes, they're the same thing but different. Is that fair?
They're multiplying the focal length, but in two very different ways.
Right.
But would you say that our focal extenders have more elements to the standard Barlow lens?
The most important thing is that yeah, I mean you can have a 2-element Barlow. I think that our focal extenders are 3 elements. But the big deal is that you are maintaining the magnification no matter what the distance is. So that's the deal. Wolfgang says, I had this size of Mars in 2018 by a 1,000 millimeter 4-inch SCT with only my webcam, Windows LifeCam, but the quality was not so good. Well, at least you got it.
Scott, that's the critical thing right there.
11 says, are they the same as f-stops? I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Focal extenders. A focal extender will change an f-stop.
Right.
Because if it's an f4 and you put a 2x focal extender on it, it's going to become an f8. So it changes the f-stop as well,
That's right.
because,
You know that F ratio is, for some people that's, in calculating magnification or exposure, that's important. So, and I recommend a good Barlow. Does ES sell them? We sell focal extenders, and yes, they are good. And so we have a
Extremely good.
3X and a 5X focal extender in 1.25" size. And then we, in 2-inch size, if you want 2-inch, we have a 2X and a 3X. So you can find them on the Explore Scientific page.
Scott, you hit the nail on the head when Wolfgang said he had a 4-inch SCT with a Windows Life Cam. The quality was not so good.
Yeah.
The whole point of this is to just do it.
Yes,
And, Wolfgang Ulladrake, it's a case of just do it. Be proud of what you did. I can go back and look at the pictures I took of Saturn and Jupiter back in 2004 and think, gee, look at what they're doing today. But I look back on it and go, I did that. It's a case of I did that in a park, in a parking lot. And I got some nice pictures and I'm proud of them. Are they anything to write home about, and put on the cover of Sky and Telescope? No, but it brings me great joy to look at those still and go, I did that. And you should look at that video and think, I did that, and celebrate that success. Does that mean we don't try and get better? Sure we do. Scott, you're intently answering a question, looks like.
So Richard Grace asked, how would I measure backspace with my focal extenders? That's the whole point. You don't have to, okay? You're gonna be at the same magnification no matter what. You just want to reach focus. And so no matter what, you're going to have to come back and touch at focus until you get the sharpest image. So there is a calculation, and I don't remember it in my head, but when you're using a Barlow lens, depending on the spacing itself, there's a way to calculate effective focal length of that. A lot easier to do when it's just 2X, 3X, or 5X. Okay, so but still, nevertheless, a lot of people, and myself included, when I would use Barlow lenses or eyepieces for projection photography, I would just get the image as large as I could while still holding a reasonably sharp image. Now, this is when I was again photographing on film, so my exposure times, I wasn't able to do sub-second exposures and track or stack 50 of them. You could do one image, okay? And so you really did rely on near perfect scene conditions to get great images back in the day.
Well, Scott, you did one image, and then you took another image, and you took another image, and then you took it to Photokina or Fast Photo or the Photo Lab back at OPT and processed it.
Back then.
Yeah, you did your own color, but you had to wait till the next day you didn't know what you had until you processed it.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah, and that was the beauty of me doing black and white back in the day, because I'd go shoot, I'd bulk load film and use a 10 exposure roll, go process it, and go back out and try and have.
I worked on a professional photo lab too, so we could do our color work and black and white work and all that stuff. But the thing is that you had to wait. You didn't know what you had until you got out of the darkroom, so. And if you got a great shot, it was like you had climbed Mount Everest. I mean, you felt really amazed, that you were able to pull that off. So, okay, Richard says, I was wondering, I have your 3X and it performs very well, but went with Teleview because they had threads and specs, because I don't know about your backspace capability. Thanks for the answer. Richard, what I do with those lenses, including the Teleview one, is I unscrew the barrel. So I just have the lens itself, and then I stick that into the focal extender, or not the focal extender, but the eyepiece projection camera adapter. So that's how I do that. Okay. Any other tips, guys?
Go do. You don't. It's like
Go look at Mars.
go look at Mars. If you have binoculars, go look at binoculars. You
Yeah.
know, and if you have a friend, take them out to look at with binoculars, or just go out and look at it and talk about it. But get outside under the stars. I'm going camping this weekend. I'm going to take a telescope with me. We're down in a hole. I don't think I'm going to be able to get Mars, but I'm going to take the telescope this weekend just in case I can, because in that campground, there's 25 or 30 slots. It's going to be full. And if I can get Mars, I'm going to draw a crowd. Guaranteed.
That's true.
Guaranteed. Go out and do this. That's my tip.
Right. Well, unfortunately, you can't draw a crowd these days because of COVID, but you know. But well, that brings up another thing, though. And you know, before we go, we can talk about electronically assisted astronomy, and planets are great for this. Okay, because you know, you can really, you know, especially with some projection adapters, you can get some nice image scale. You could show that image up on a monitor. That's a relatively easy thing to do and fairly inexpensive setup. And you don't need a very sophisticated tracking system or any of that. In fact, a lot of people would take an old web camera, attach an 1.25-inch barrel, or just somehow attach it so that it was on their scope, focus the image onto the webcam, and just start downloading images, you know. So, you know, and there are cameras, of course, made for electronic assisted astronomy, but it doesn't have to be real expensive. So don't think that you need to reserve, you know, $1,000 to get ready to do something like that. You can do a lot of this with a used webcam that you may have lying around the house. So that's something that you can check out, and you know, get out your laptop or your, you know, desktop, and you know, bring the images in. And with Skype and Zoom and all the rest of it, you could share it with a whole group of people without running into any kind of social distancing problem. So,
hey, Scott, here's a question for you. And Tyler is getting a planetary camera. Well, won't just any camera work, or why does Tyler need a planetary camera to shoot it? I mean, he's got a great camera.
Tyler wants to take his astrophotography up to the next level. Okay. And as you get into the better cameras that can do shorter exposure times, you know, these cameras are, you know, you can design a camera that's really suitable for shooting planetary stuff. But, you know, I know what Tyler wants to do. He wants to have images that rival or start to rival what he sees from people like Christopher Go and you know, and these people, and get super high resolution stuff. If you're just trying to share the experience, show the rings of Saturn, show the polar cap on Mars, you know, moon transits, this kind of thing, in electronically assisted astronomy, you're not trying to achieve this super high resolution detail. But these planetary cameras, yes, that's, you know, Tyler's going the right direction with that to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, correct. I want to get better than Gary Palmer.
Mike Weezer says, use the smartphone afocally to let people see the planet and the moon live without needing to look into the eyepiece. Yeah, and Mike was showing that last night.
Right.
That was really good.
And that's basically
15 years ago, when I got a C11, I did a lot of planetary imaging with a $30 webcam. It worked decently. She has an article on the website now, of course, obsolete. Okay. The technique is not obsolete though, and it can still be done. And so, you know, there are a lot more options. When all this webcam astrophotography first started, there weren't a lot of options. You know, CCD cameras cost a ton of money back then. You know, Mead Instruments sold a CCD camera that would today sell for maybe around $1,000 for $8,000. Okay, so You know, and you know, but there were so many webcams being made that were relatively inexpensive, like $30 or under $50, that could do an amazing job. So those cameras are still, can still do valid work today. And so I would recommend that maybe looking at some of those old articles on the internet and learning how to do that.
Hey, Scott, Miss Roper, who wrote that, her website is Waldy Wormhole, WALDEE Wormhole. She posted a bunch of comments back, and I Googled it, and there's some pretty cool stuff on there. Waldy Wormhole.
.net? .org?
I Googled it. I can share my screen. It's
Waldy Wormhole. I'm putting it in chat. So
yeah, Waldy. I'll do it. I can do it real quick. I've got the website Googled up. There we go. Did that go?
there you go.
Mrs. Roper is actually Mrs. Roper's husband, Steve Waldy.
Well, best regards to Mrs. Roper. Okay, so she's very much interested in astronomy too. That's awesome. Are we going to get that Explore Alliance email today? Kent, we'll get that out today. Yes, about the.
It's actually going to come out tomorrow because Tricia was having trouble with the email program.
Okay.
To
All
broadcast. Right. It'll be coming out tomorrow at this point. But it's got for Explore Alliance members, you're going to get, especially if you're a platinum member, a significant price reduction off of the new pop-up 2-man pop-up tent, which we might as well just share here real quick.
Well, let's finish it off and get it all dialed in before we.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. But here's. Yeah, we don't want to, pull the trigger and not have everything work right. But right. Here's what we're talking about right here. 2-man pop-up tent. It weighs a whopping couple of pounds. Scott and I set it up yesterday here in the office. It took us. Each one can go up in about 15 seconds after you have it out of the bag. Retail's good. Introductory price is $249.99. I'm not going to say what the prices are going to be, but it's going to be
you're going to like the deal. That's
yeah,
right.
Especially if you're a platinum member, you're going to like the deal. Legacy members get a price. Standard members will get a different price. Legacy members will get the best price. But that'll be coming out tomorrow, and the method to go ahead and order it, get it paid for, and when they come in, those are going to ship immediately to the people who pre-buy them. So it's going to be a sweet deal for EA members.
All right. I think that kind of wraps up our show for today. You guys have anything more to add?
Get out and look under the stars. Just get out, as Kent puts it.
Yeah. Visually, I've always had better sense of detail on Mars with scopes under 11 inches or even less than 10 inches. Too bright with big scopes, but those are great for imaging. My best image, I'm bragging now. My best view of Mars of all time. This was during the grand opposition of Mars, back in the day when it was at its closest point in 60,000 years. And I had the opportunity to use back-to-back the Mount Wilson 60-inch telescope and the Palomar Observatory 60-inch telescope called the Oscar Mayer. And I will tell you, the images through a 60-inch telescope of Mars were mind-blowing, okay? Just absolutely incredible. So it's, but he's pointing out the reason why he's saying that his images are better at images are with telescopes under 11 inches is because most of us don't get great observing, seeing conditions, okay? Mount Wilson and Palomar Observatory, those big giant telescopes are put up there for a reason, okay? Seeing conditions are usually very, very good. And on both of those nights that I got a chance to do that, we had sub-arc second seeing, okay, which is nearly perfect. And so, that was, an amazing experience. My worst view of Jupiter ever, or of a planet ever, was through the 200-inch telescope. I got a chance to visually look through the 200-inch at Jupiter. It looked like the size of a big golf ball, and it was just boiling. You couldn't make out any bands, nothing. Okay, I remember coming out of the observatory dome and looking through my 13-inch Coulter and seeing the bands and stuff in the detail. And it's not that my 13-inch Coulter had a spectacular mirror; it didn't. Okay, but the aperture was so much less that it was able to see through the seeing conditions that the 200-inch absolutely couldn't do that night. Okay, so, but those are conversations for another time. And until tomorrow, we will see you. I put up a notice about the star party that's going to happen this Saturday, so hopefully you can tune in for that. That will happen starting at 4 o'clock Central, this Saturday on the 10th. So take care, and thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Well, I think we will. There we go.
Find the off button, Scott.
The off button, huh? There we go.